Hi everyone, welcome to Brown Girls Happy Hour, where two brown girls read books and we also get authors of the books to discuss their books with us and their writing journey and their inspiration and things like that. So today we have with us Bhavya Pathak, and she's the author of the book Face, a collection of stories, sorry, and challenges and lessons. And Bhavya is joining us now along with Daman, I think. Hi, Bhavya. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to wait for Daman
Yeah,
um, to join as well. But how's your weekend going so far?
yeah. It's been busy. I don't know if you know, but I just started law school actually. So I have been busy with that. So there's that. But yeah, how about you? How's your weekend?
It's great. Yeah, we were just like waiting. We're so excited for this happy hour and to talk to you. So yeah. But I also saw on your stories that you are going to be modeling, or you have done a modeling audition for I don't know what, but yeah, what is that about?
Yeah, so I'm someone who's very interested in a lot of things. And I also never want to limit myself on what I do. So I actually did try modeling and I auditioned for a couple of things. Well, not almost, but I did audition for the main part of Have I Ever, the TV show on Netflix. So that was fun. I obviously didn't get the part, and I forgot her name, Davis Tree. I forgot her name right now, but she definitely like deserved it more than I do. So there's that. But yeah,
But yeah, that's why I love to follow your Instagram. Like you have so many different kinds of interests, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Um,
thank you.
so yeah, thank you for joining us on our live, Daman. Hi.
Hi, Bhavya.
Hi, Thelma. Nice to meet you guys virtually finally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice to meet you too. Should we get I think we can get on to making the cocktail first and then we can go on with our discussion.
Yeah, sounds good. So today we are making a tequila-based cocktail because that's what Bhavya likes. And we are gonna start with about 2 ounces of tequila in a glass. And you need about less than half ounce of lemon juice. And you just top it off with some ginger beer.
I
And
don't
that.
have ginger beer, so
More lemon juice.
What are you
and
replacing with?
I'm just using water. I don't have anything. I don't.
Oh, I thought you
I
were
do
gonna
need
do
mine
like
a little bit
straight
more.
up.
Okay.
All right,
Cheers.
All right,
cheers.
cheers. So, Bhavya, you mentioned your female icon is Nicole Lapin. Tell us more about her. Why is she iconic for you?
Yeah, I think so. I actually met Nicole in DC about 5 years ago, and she came for a book talk actually. And so the more she was talking about her book and just her interests, I realized that she is literally who I want to be in another 10 years. She's released a couple books. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read them or look into them, but I really recommend. A lot of them are about how to be independent as a woman, um, how to be financially independent as women, how to just own your own life, be your own boss girl type of thing. So I just really resonated with the types of books she wrote. And then on top of that, she just has so many interests and she doesn't fail to pursue any of them. And I feel like I'm the same way, and that I just have so many interests, and like she's really inspired me to continue to love myself and just go for what I want. And so because of that, I just really respect her and what she does. Um, and I think more so that she's more in the business of lifting women up rather than saying, oh, women don't know things and I'm going to teach you. It's more of like, we're in this together. So I really respect that about what she's doing. And I think the last thing I'll mention that I really love about her is that she has this whole philosophy on buying herself a self love ring. And she actually went to a jewelry store and bought herself like a Tiffany diamond ring as an engagement to herself. And when I heard that, I mean, everyone was kind of like, yeah, everyone was like, wow, like you really bought yourself like a really expensive like engagement ring for yourself. But then when I heard her reasoning behind it, I thought it was really powerful that she did that. And I think it's like very self-owning as women to say like, I love myself and I'm going to own myself first. And if somebody comes along the way, totally fine. But the most important relationship is the one with yourself first. And so because of that, I actually have a self-love ring too. I'm not as expensive as hers, but definitely something that I just love about her and, you know, keep following her for the same reasons.
Wow,
That's
that
awesome.
makes her my role model too, like my favorite female icon as well, for sure. That's
I know.
amazing.
It also
Yeah.
reminds me of like Samantha's character in Sex and the City. She also wanted to buy herself a ring or something, and she had a similar reasoning that I don't want a man to buy it for me. Like I love myself enough to buy it for myself, which is awesome.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So,
Yeah.
Bhavya, I want to talk about your book as well, Face. How did, yeah, so like, how did you start writing? Or how did you start thinking about this idea? When did this idea come to you? What was your inspiration? And yeah, how's the journey been? So many
Yeah.
questions, I guess.
I know. Just bombarded her.
No, you're okay. So I think I guess like just as a person, I used to always love writing. And then of course, like being Indian, my parents in college were like, oh, don't major in English, don't major in writing because you'll never have a career. So then I ended up majoring in statistics, which is like totally different. And then as I was in college, I ended up taking a writing class and I instantly knew that I wanted to continue with it. So I minored in creative writing. And one of the classes that I took was actually all about how to publish. And in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what, this is great, but I'm not in a position to publish a book. I was literally like 20 at that time. And, you know, I just felt like publishing was more for people who were actually majoring in English and all that stuff. But then I also mentioned this in my book, but I did have a traumatic experience happen. And I think that put me into a really dark spot. And I think it was a point in my life where instead of talking to people about it, I kind of became quiet. And in that moment, since I wasn't talking to other people, I had a lot of people talking to me. And through that, I was listening to so many stories and realizing that, wow, everybody is kind of suffering in their own way. And none of us are open to talking about it for some reason. And I think the more conversations that I was having with people, the more I was realizing that, like, the more I think people realize that everybody is suffering and that we're in it together, I think the more mindful we'll be as humans about what everyone's going through. And so then somehow that collection of people talking to me turned into this like notebook of stories that I just had. And then, you know, I looked back at that notebook and I was like, whoa, this is my book idea. And so that's kind of where that came from. And I ended up taking some of those stories that I heard and I looked out for more stories from other people who submitted pieces to the book. And then on top of that, I just took some pieces that I had from college or life that I thought reflected some of the themes that I had throughout the book as well. That's kind of where that came from.
That's interesting. And how did you choose the title of the book, the name of the book, Face?
Face. So I think I was trying to think about all the components of what people listen to when they're telling stories. So for the most part, we tell stories with our mouth. We listen to stories with our ears, and then we usually observe stories through our eyes. And so based on that, I just took those like three components of our face, and I was like, well, I guess the title is going to be Face.
That's cool.
That's where that came from.
So you have had the face illustrated on your book by Hema Bindu, right? So how was it like working with someone to illustrate when you had to give your vision to them? What was the process like?
So that was interesting. I think I definitely had a different cover idea than what actually came out. And I don't know if this was better or worse than what I thought. It's just different. And so originally what I had in my mind was a very minimal face. And I had a blue background in mind. I didn't even think about pink. But then the artist that I was working with, she was very receptive on like my ideas, but I also gave her the creative freedom to do what she wanted because I'm not an artist and I can't draw for this, like, to save my life. So I just let her kind of like take my idea of like the fact that I just wanted a minimal face and let her come up with what she had. Some of the original ones that she had were pretty plain. And then I think that's what I wanted to go with. But as soon as I saw her more detailed face, I was like, no, this looks nicer. So we went with that. And then I think the pink came from, I have a lot of like themes about womanhood in the book. So I think the pink just came from the idea of, you know, establishing womanhood. And it's not a book just for girls or women, but it is just a theme that came from it. So that's where that came from. So yeah.
That's very interesting. Like how, you know, like ideas come and then something that comes out of it is like completely different and very amazing. So that's the
I'm also
process.
very intrigued with this process of like idea from one person and somebody else designing it, because there's so much that gets lost in the translation, and there's also always a lot of back and forth. So that's why I had that question for you.
Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, for the last step after I had my illustrator put the designs together, I had a designer at the end of it. She, Aishu O'Neill, you guys should check her out if anyone's looking for designing. Also another side cool thing is that a lot of the people who worked on the book with me are South Asian. So that was like another cool factor that came into it. So Aishu actually, she designed the cover, and so when she put it together, it was also very different from what I thought the cover would look like. But of course, her designing skills and her mind helped kind of create like a minimal design, and she put the text together and all that stuff. So it was great to see what she also had to come up with. Yeah.
That's cool. And you're now going to law school. So how is that like? How did that idea? I mean, I'm so intrigued by, you know, so many interests that you pursue, like law school. And then I saw you were also thinking of taking part in a beauty pageant, which was, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was so excited.
Yeah, I guess law school is just like the career interest I've always wanted. So I don't know if you guys know this, but in order to go to law school, you have to get an undergrad degree no matter what, and it doesn't have to be in anything related to law. So I think before even going into college, I knew I wanted to do, I guess it didn't really matter what I majored in, but I knew I wanted to go to law school after that. And then after college was over, I was left between a choice of starting a job or going to law school. And I ended up actually working for a few years as a data analyst. And so that was very different from law school again. But then I guess the more I was working data analysis, the more I knew law school was still where I wanted to be, because working on a computer for 10 hours a day was just not fun for me. Or just like even programming all day, like props to anybody who does it, but it wasn't, I knew I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I think that pushed me more to be like, okay, you should go back to law school. So I guess that's where that came from. And then in terms of my other interests of like beauty pageants and all that stuff, I think those are just more fun opportunities that came my way. I haven't personally decided yet if I'm still going to compete. So I had the opportunity to enter into Miss Illinois, because I'm in Illinois right now. And I've been thinking about it. A lot of people have been asking me to do it just for the sake of like representation. But at the same time, like as much as I understand that, I also personally don't really believe in the mission of judging women based on how they look. And I've read into the competition that's mostly what they do. So it is a crossroads of like, you know, do I continue to do something for the sake of representation just so that people see more like brown girl faces, or is it more of something, do I stand by my values and my time commitment? So it's something I'm struggling with, but we'll see if I do that.
Yeah. I was going to reply to the story that you had, and I just ended up like, I just got distracted. But I was going to say that, you know, like it is true that that all beauty pageants would, you know, treat you like just want to like
Objectify you.
yeah, objectify you. But like when Daman and I have read Priyanka Chopra's memoir as well, Unfinished, and in that she talks about the same thing, like how, you know, it felt very weird to her, like she was 17 years old and she had to like, you know, like wear like skimpy clothes and go in front of people who are basically just looking at her physical traits, and that's it. But she also said that, you know, she put a lot of thought into what she's going to wear in all of these competitions and, promoting her culture and promoting her heritage. So that was interesting as well. So, maybe, yeah, you could do that, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
think I think just in general, there's such a hard balance of, especially with like, I mean, I kind of talk a little bit about this in my book too, but there's just such a hard balance of trying to show that, you're American, but also Indian, and like in a competition, I mean, obviously in an American competition, you want to show your ethnicity and heritage, but then at the same time, you don't know how people are going to react to it and or accept that, this is also a part of being an American. Is there are Indian Americans, and it's hard, but I do appreciate that you guys are supportive and give that perspective as well. So,
We also have a viewer question for you. So
yeah.
Priya's asking, how long does law school take? 3 or 4 years?
So it's 3 years, and the first year is your most intense year, and then second year is also school. By the third year, you're kind of like working, but also in school. So it is officially 3 years, but more like two.
What do you want to specialize in law? Like, is there a specialization?
Yeah. Right now I'm thinking of corporate law, which I guess goes back to like my old job experience. I think when I was there, I really liked doing all the business stuff. I didn't really like doing the programming, but I liked like talking to people and being with clients and doing similar stuff. So I think I would like to do that on like a legal spectrum. So yeah.
Okay.
And are you also writing anything else meanwhile?
Yeah.
Another book?
Unfortunately, I don't have time, but maybe I think down the line, I think I've already looked back at this book, and it's only been a few months since I've released it, and I've realized that there are things maybe I would have done differently, or maybe waited a little bit more. And like part of me is just taking it with a grain of salt and realizing like, it's the first book, it's out there, and I still have the rest of my life to live. And maybe something will come out later, maybe it won't, but I think at the end of the day, I don't think I'll ever stop writing. So there's that.
And what are you reading nowadays? I don't know if you have too much time to read, but
I know, right?
I was gonna say I've been reading law books, which probably isn't interesting. No, but I think something on my bucket list is actually Nicole's newest book. I think it's called Independent Boss or something like that. I have to check her Instagram page, but she has a new book out, and it's all about just being independent and like owning yourself financially, which goes with a lot of her themes of her books. And since I've read her other ones, I really want to read that one next. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by her. I'm gonna check out her books after our live.
No, definitely. I see you guys are always reading though. I'm so impressed. Like I wish I had like.
Yeah, we just found our purpose in life with this. Read books, talk about books. That's all we like to do.
No, I love it. Honestly, once you find that purpose like that, it keeps you going, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And that's awesome that you guys have that already.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? Even though we keep complaining about sometimes how swamped we are or how tired we are, this is one thing we somehow don't give up on, because we're like, okay, this is part of us now. We have to do it. We'll figure it out.
right. Yeah. There's also another question for you. I'm also thinking of going back to school, but I'm afraid it'll be hard to get focused and get in the habit of studying hours a day.
You
So
also asked before, how do you prepare?
How do you prepare to go back to school and study for many hours a day?
So that is definitely an adjustment, especially because I think this goes for grad school, medical school, anything that you want to do as secondary education. But I think the thing that I miss the most about working versus now being in school again is the free time. Because usually when you're done with work, even if it's like at 8 o'clock at night, you can come home and turn work off. With school, you come home and you have homework to do for the next day, or you have, just like classwork to prepare for. And so it's really hard to find that time off. Whereas when you're working, you can easily like flip a switch. You'll have your weekends. Even if it's tough and you have to work some weekends, you'll still have some time off on the weekends to like unplug. But with school, it's really hard to do that because there's always something to do. And then I think the other hard thing is that with a lot of my friends, like working in the corporate world and whatever, like they always have like their weekends off, and I need my weekends to study. So then it's always hard to say like, sorry, I can't hang out with you, or I can't go to dinner or do all this stuff, or like go on vacation with people because I have to study. But I think what matters more is like just knowing yourself, and know like what your boundaries are. I think for me, I personally do like to take some time off in the mornings, whether it's to work out or cook or do something like that. And vice versa, I know people who don't take that time off and then they get so burnt out so quickly. So just like know yourself, and know what you're capable of. I think there are times where sometimes you have to give yourself a break, and maybe it means an assignment doesn't get done right away, but you know what, your mental health and your physical health is more important than any one assignment that you might lose like 10 points for. So it's a hard balance, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it's doable. And if other people have been doing it, I think you can do it too.
That's a great message. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before we end this, Bhavya, do you have any, I guess, message for our listeners or our viewers today?
Oh, that's hard. So I guess just going along with like the theme of what we've been talking about is, I think if you have the privilege to do what you want to do, give yourself the chance to go do it, whether it's like you guys, like starting a podcast, or it's if you're interested in acting or modeling, or if you're interested in writing. I think the worst case situation is to be sitting at your desk job or doing something that you don't want to do and like eating yourself out and like thinking in the back of your mind, like, I wish I did this, or what if I did this? And I think if you have the position, I understand it's not possible for everybody. There are some people who definitely need to be at their job and might not be able to afford to take some time off to do certain things. But I think if you have that privilege to do that, you should definitely take up that opportunity, and don't question it, and, you know, just go for it. And I think if anything fails, that's totally okay. At least you know you tried it. And that's, I think, more important than wondering what if. So I guess that would be my message.
Love that.
Yeah, I loved it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Bhavya,
Thank you, Bhavya, for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.